Do the writers know what stakes are on this show? And I'm not talking about the one you can make medium rare or rare. I'm talking about actually raising the intensity of the storyline. They don't seem to want to do that. What is up, fellow Beyond the Gates fans? Here to talk about today's Thursday episode of the show. I gotta say, the writing for this show, the storylines for this show have become quite a chore to watch, I fear. I don't love that at all. Not that today was even a bad episode per se. I feel like some of the writing today was trying to make an amends with the cat stand base, but I'm not a part of that stand base necessarily. I feel like I'm glad we finally get to see Mama Hawthorne, who was on today. There was a couple of other good things, but the storylines in general are not good right now. They're just not fun to watch. They're either depressing, like the cancer storyline, or they're just bad, and most of it's happening off screen, like this Impaler stuff. But let's talk about today regardless. I think I want to start with Mama Hawthorne. We did finally get to meet Darlene today, who was out with her son Izaiah. They were talking first about Eva because I guess somehow Elon heard about how Leslie has been putting it out there that Eva and Izaiah are already going to get married. So Mama Hawthorne was upset about that he's considering marrying someone after 5 minutes. Izaiah tried to explain to her that that wasn't happening, but Darlene does not think Eva is the right girl for him because of the police investigating her mother, Leslie, and she talked to Izaiah about whether he likes it or not. The Hawthorne family is a law enforcement family through and through, so he needs to find a nice, good girl. He pushed back. He defended Eva like he has been doing. But then she gave the suggestion that Izaiah bring Eva to the house to meet the family. Izaiah was against that because of his relationship with his father. Darlene seems to think that Izaiah's relationship with Elon isn't always contentious, but Izaiah pushed back on that. And then they got to talking about Jacob being undercover and how Izaiah ran into him randomly in an alley, which would probably be a bad sign that Jacob's not doing great undercover work. But then Darlene talked about how undercover work is dangerous and that she doesn't want to tell Izaiah what exactly Jacob is investigating, but he is involved with some violent people, which I'm sick of being told that Jacob is investigating violent people. We didn't get to see Max's stabbing. We just continue to chat about how the Impaler is so violent and dangerous. But the show refuses to show us that. And so, yeah, it's been almost impossible to invest in this Impaler storyline. I think it is another failed storyline from this show because a lot of it has happened off screen and there's just no stakes. Do the writers know what stakes are on this show? And I'm not talking about the one you can make medium rare or rare. I'm talking about actually raising the intensity of the storyline. They don't seem to want to do that. Naomi started the episode with Bill. I'm not even going to get into her hiding the fact that she has the cancer gene from people still. She still complained to Ashley about it, but she still doesn't want to tell people about her gene. I just find this secret of Naomi's another weak storyline from the show, and I just don't think that there's any stakes involved in that storyline either. I don't even know if you can call it a storyline, frankly. It's just Naomi hiding a secret, talking to Ashley about it every few episodes. It's going nowhere. But Izaiah later called Naomi, wanting Naomi to bring her burner phone with Jacob to him and his mom, Darlene, to give her more peace of mind. Sounds like a terrible idea. I don't know if there's something more to it with Izaiah wanting the phone. Maybe it... Izaiah might be the only hope for that Impaler storyline getting a little more interesting, but we'll see. I do like that they are adding the fact that his mom is not for the relationship with Eva. that can become an obstacle for the couple, which I think most couples on this show need better obstacles for us to have something to root for them to be together. That's a possibility with Mama Hawthorne. Now, why today's episode started a little rough for me was because when I read the spoilers yesterday, it made it seem like there was no cancer story today or tomorrow. That was a lie. The cancer story was still on today. But turns out Anita had an infection. That's why she was feeling so terrible on top of the chemotherapy. So she was able to be discharged today and make it home. She made a mysterious phone call, which turned out to be to Bill. But then Sharon also surprised Anita today, so they had a little chit chat. But then Anita wanted some privacy to talk to her surprise alone and to keep this a secret from Vernon. That's what she wants Sharon to do, keep a secret from Vernon. It was Bill who came over because Anita wanted to discuss a living trust that she and Vernon drew up. She wants to make some amendments. Bill made sure to note that he's making some amendments to his will too, which I don't know what that means for Haley. But if Haley has the Kill Bill plot still going, she needs to figure that out soon. But they seem to have put that entire story on ice, which is a shame because it was one of the only interesting stories that the show had going for it. But what do I know? Bill wanted to know why Anita was keeping this a secret from Vernon. Anita was saying that she had an infection, but her prognosis remains unchanged. She doesn't want to pretty much put Vernon through stress again like she did the last several episodes because she was losing the will to live. So I guess that's just why she wants to have this secret meeting with Bill about their living trust. Anyway, moving on. Peaches was actually on today. Not at the hospital anymore. I guess the trial has helped her feel better, whatever trial drug she is on. She was out with Leslie and Eva today. So there's Peaches. A lot of people have been asking me for weeks, where's Peaches? Well, she's alive and well and looking spry. Eva was going on today trying to convince Peaches that Leslie changed, which confused me because it was just more very inconsistent writing for Eva. I think one week Eva's getting upset with her mom again, and then the next week she's just placating her again. We gotta move on from that cycle because it is bad, sucky writing. Eva did bring up how Leslie was pressuring Eva to get married, and Peaches didn't want Leslie to pressure Eva. And then Peaches went on some bullshit about how Leslie at times was hard to deal with as a mother, but Leslie was worth it. And then Leslie ordered expensive caviar for her mom, which she didn't even like anyway. And then Leslie got Peaches a spa day. But then Leslie saw Vernon arriving and tried to ask Vernon to withdraw the order in shutting down her house, the work on the house. Vernon doesn't want to do that and won't let her play victim after all the noise that Leslie has been causing, torturing Leslie while she's fighting for her life. And Leslie says that Vernon using that excuse is bullshit, basically, because he and the Duprees have been pushing Leslie out for a long time since he came to town long before Anita's cancer. But I don't think Leslie trying to push Vernon into helping her work today. But it was more of just Leslie going around annoying people like she's done best lately. The scenes between Kat and Ted today were interesting because it really feels like the show listened to fan feedback at the end of the year when we were giving pushback on how big of a clown Ted has been and how he's been a terrible father to Kat and Martin. But also, the Kat stan base for a while was very loud about how everyone treats Kat. And so today, Ted had a coffee catch-up with Kat to repair the damage that he's done. And he's just kind of ashamed that he had to find out from somebody else that his daughter moved in with her grandparents, Anita and Vernon. They talked about how Kat likes living with Anita and Vernon so far and seems happier. And then Kat went on about how she knows she's been obsessed with Eva, but she was kind of trying to get over it. But then Ted admitted that he was putting Eva first because he had a great deal to make up for with Eva. And so Kat appreciated that because she was feeling gaslighted, which was 100% a nod to the audience that always complains that Kat is gaslighted by her family. Now someone is finally saying that, and it's Kat herself. Kat thanked Ted for admitting that and said that Grant's illness has taught her to stop holding on to grudges with people she loves, so she doesn't want to have a grudge with Ted. That doesn't probably include Eva, unfortunately, and it really shouldn't include Leslie anyway, but Ted promises to be more present for Kat, so they are trying to, once again, fix the Ted character from being not so good of a father, while also acknowledging to a part of the fan base that gets annoyed by it that Kat has been gaslighted by some other characters lately. And then the other thing was this alley. Our favorite alley was on today. Grayson and Jacob were there. They talked about how Max was being moved off the grid, and Jacob wanted to know everything Grayson knows about the organization so that they are both safe. But I'm confused by the writing because at one point, Jacob was trying to convince Grayson that he's just really on board with this operation because he needs the money. And Jacob was trying to convince Grayson that he's hard. He's a hardcore alley gangster. But then today, he's trying to get obvious information out of Grayson, saying that he's trying to keep them both safe, which to Grayson should once again make him think that Jacob is just undercover again. Grayson really wasn't having any of it today, even though then Jacob was pressuring him to break things off with Ashley, which I think would be even more obvious that Jacob and Naomi are still strong. I didn't like any of these scenes with Jacob today. Grayson didn't want to take relationship advice from Jacob because he didn't see that as Jacob having his back. In the end, Jacob didn't get any information out of Grayson, so it was kind of a giant waste of time, and Jacob continues to really fail with this investigation. So I'm just still confused by the entire writing for the Impaler storyline. Then Grayson just went back to Ashley to thank her for being patient with his situation, so he's clearly not listening to Jacob and backing off of Ashley. I'm starting to feel like the Impaler storyline is to try and make Ashley more interesting and be like, oh, look, Ashley kind of has a dangerous boyfriend now, but is still falling flat because none of us give a shit about Ashley, for one. But also the story itself is going nowhere fast because there's no reason to really care about it because they have not shown us stakes in the story. They haven't shown us the danger in the story. And so the Impaler stuff and Jacob's investigation continues to fall flat. So overall, I felt like today's episode was still not so fun to watch because the current storylines are not good. And unfortunately, this is a soap opera, so it's probably going to be a while before we get some new storylines. But, something the show could do is just move their storylines a little faster. I don't know how, when the show first started, for like the first few months, the pacing was great. And that was not a pace that they could keep. I get that. But now they seem to be the complete opposite, where the pacing on this show is way too damn slow. Can we find a balance, please? Because today was kind of a chore for me to watch. They do seem to want to make up for some mistakes with the Cat character and with the Ted character. We saw that today. I'm glad we finally met Mama Hawthorne. But these are little things, and I think the show needs to start changing some big things.